I know you guys are currently hiring for a senior data engineer for your team. Can you talk through what it is that they would be working on? Because I think this is a specialized role. It's not like a general senior data engineer. So can you talk a little bit about what it is they'd be working on?
Yeah. So basically, over the last, again, there's history in the past. We built a number of SaaS products and tried to take them to the market before kind of the model that we're running today. Again, that's a whole other story too. So when we were sitting down to do the next iteration on what we were doing, we wanted to be really deliberate about making sure that what we were doing was providing real value to the market and not going too deep, building too much software, and then struggling to get the traction because maybe there's not a real product market fit. So this time around, what we did is really heavy prototyping, and the systems that we have today have been built on Google Sheets as the underlying part of it, but there's really it's a JavaScript application running on Google Sheets as a platform, and that sounds a little bit crazy, and it is. And really, what it is that we just started building reporting systems for customers, and just allowed it to continue to evolve and get more and more traction and more confidence in what we're doing. But unsurprisingly, have hit the point where the pain and the cost of continuing to try and push the system that we've built, really the proof of concept system that we've built, is now being outweighed by the value that we get from moving on to the next generation of our technology and getting onto proper infrastructure. So that's really what we're looking for, is someone who can come in and take what is actually quite a proven and like well spec'd proof of concept that is running, is being used by customers, is delivering value, but able to move it into modern data ETL pipeline technologies. Python's probably going to be the tool, but there's all these other tools in the mix there: Sparks, Beams, BigQuery, Airflows, all these tools that are out there in the data engineering space. So going through, okay, here's a proof of concept, here's the system requirements, and then having a lot of freedom to work through what is the right technical architecture that's going to best solve this problem. You know, what's a good option to move iteratively and progressively? What's going to be the right balance of performance versus cost versus code time? So we're looking for someone who has some of those battle scars, has hopefully in the past had some opportunity to build some systems and make some mistakes and understand what it means to try and build a robust piece of infrastructure, to really engineer it. And someone who's interested in both sides of that, the architecture side, so looking at the high level and figuring out what the right pieces are and how they're going to stick together, but also who's still excited about doing the actual implementation, still sitting down and spending time writing the code and making the bits move.
Is this going to be for internal systems or for the systems that the customer will see, or both?
Yeah. So right now, this is primarily going to be non-customer facing systems. So the way that we think about our systems, there's kind of two edges. There's the data ingress where we're pulling data in, and some of that's customer facing, things like spreadsheets and stuff like that, where they might be entering data. And then the other customer facing side is the actual reports on the other end, charts, tables, typical kind of reporting interfaces. And then between that, there's all this data glue that takes what comes in and does all the work that gets into the right format, gets it cleaned up, gets it joined and aggregated and processed, and creates what goes into the end product, but not the actual reports themselves. So that's where the focus of this project is going to be, is all those systems that basically connect the inputs to the outputs. Hopefully longer term, we have a real interest in trying to see if those systems can be productized themselves. So if there's one of these kind of platform as a service opportunities to take these systems that are being built and then expose the appropriate APIs and outputs so that someone could bolt on potentially their own front end or bolt on a different reporting system. But that's further down the road once we've gotten things robust and hardened and confident from internal usage.
For this particular hire, what does your team look like currently, and who would they be kind of interfacing with, and who would their boss be? Would that be you?
Yeah, I'd be their boss.
Oh,
So as of right now, we're still a small company. So we're 5 people full time, 4 here in Canada. They're spread across the country, and 1 full time in the Philippines. But of those 5, I'm the only technical resource. The rest of the company is focused on working with our customers. We provide some kind of strategic consulting and coaching with our customers and help them work through figuring out how to model their agencies in terms of how they use their tools and their concepts. And the hire would be the first additional technical resource, full-time technical resource in this company aside from me. And again, the ideal candidate is someone that like I'd definitely be there working with them and be available as a sounding board and a coach and a mentor, but also someone who is interested in and has the capability to be fairly autonomous and to really take the lead on trying to evaluate decisions. And if they want to, again, have a sounding board for those decisions, happy to do that. I'm definitely going to be there to review decisions, review code. Hopefully someone who's excited to have the autonomy to really try and take the lead.
you basically get access to Ben's playbook of mistakes not to make while building startup products right at your fingertips, is essentially what I'm hearing.
That's right. That's right.
Not to reiterate too much, if it's just Python and maybe some Python tools associated with it, libraries or automations, is there any front end work that would need to happen with those charts, or do you think Python would be sufficient for that? Or what are your thoughts on the tech stack
Mhm.
they could potentially use?
Yeah. So Python is probably going to be the focus. It doesn't even necessarily have to be Python. It could like R would probably be the other strongest contender. Maybe you could throw like Go or something into the mix, but I need to hear a good argument for why Python isn't the right language. Python just has such a strong foundation in the data engineering ML space. I think it's a good tool for that space. And then as far as the front end goes, if someone has some interest in that, we are working in parallel on the next generation of the system in terms of those other parts, the data ingress and the reporting. And that's being built as a TypeScript React app using Tailwind for the UI. And so there's some things that will need to interface between the two systems. So if there's some interest in working on that type of stuff, there's probably opportunity for it. But if there isn't, and it's not a skill set, it's certainly not critical for the role.